safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who is interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees, our 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners, and they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
Do we have it now? Yes. Okay. All right, we'll call to order the meeting of the Legislative and Human Resources Committee. It is January 22, 2019. We'll begin with public comment. If anyone wishes to address the committee, you have up to 3 minutes. If not, we will move to item number 2, which is approval of the minutes from December 11 of 2018, and I'll accept a motion. Support. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Next item number 3, Public Affairs Associates. Becky Beckler is here with us today to bring us up to speed and current on what's going on in Lansing. Good morning.
Nice to be here this morning. The legislature is now fully engaged and organized. It took a little while. It was a little slow, but that's to be expected whenever you have a change of leadership as we have in Lansing today. We have a new Senate Majority Leader, Senator Mike Shirkey from the Jackson area. We have a new Speaker of the House, Representative Lee Chatfield from northern Lower Michigan. He is the youngest Speaker of the House in the history of Michigan, and I believe he's also the youngest Speaker of the House in the entire country at age 30. So we have quite a diverse group of leadership as age, not necessarily gender, but with age. And then we have a new governor in Gretchen Whitmer, who will be giving her State of the State on February 5th. So when the legislature did their ceremonial opening day session, it gave the leadership in the House and the Senate the opportunity to bring forward some of their priorities beginning the first of the year. For Senator Mark Shirkey, it was no surprise that it's auto no fault and high insurance rates is his #1 issue, which was quickly followed by Senate Bill 1, which is auto no fault legislation. However, he did caution his chamber as well as the stakeholders is that this would be a process of which we would come up to an agreement. So he introduced what's called a shell bill, which included all the ingredients that could be part of an auto no fault reform bill: attendant care, fraud authority, fee schedule, everything that could possibly be, have a conversation, including those non-driving factors that have been recently a topic of conversation as well, which deals with credit rating, gender, and those issues. So he also reminded his caucus that 2 sessions ago, Senate Bill 1 was repeal of prevailing wage, and that took 1.5 years to accomplish. So he wanted to set the tone that he wanted to be deliberative and not necessarily just quick action on an issue. He also wants to take a look at certificate of need reform. This is something that he tried 4 years ago. He wanted to straight out repeal that. He was not successful, so he wants to come back and take a look at that. My sense is that it's more, rather than repeal, updating and making it more up to speed on today's activity. So those are the 2 priorities that he laid out as starting points for the Senate. Over in the House, it wasn't too far off from where the Senate was. Auto no fault and the high auto rates is clearly a priority for the House as well as FOIA reforms for government officials as well as the legislature. He wants the governor's office and the legislature to be a product of the FOIA request as well. It's something that was introduced last session that was not able to be finished at the end of the day. He also did a joint press conference with the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, on civil asset forfeiture. This is a new introduction of a bill that was not passed last session. It's a bipartisan bill, so I think the new speaker is trying to set the tone of working in a bipartisan manner, with the first House bill being something of a bipartisan nature. So those are the priorities. The priorities of the governor will not be set until February 5th when she gives her State of the State, but that is something that they are looking at, as well as pension reform. If you recall, Governor Snyder in 2012 made a pretty dramatic changes in our pension tax form, and both leaders have expressed interest in taking a look at that. They want it to be fair to retire all retirees, but it's something that I think all 3 leaders are willing to take a look at as well as they go about this new legislative session. As we look at the new session, there are going to be some changes, especially if you look at the House committee dynamics. The House committee has changed their process of which they will approve bills. They've created what is called the House Ways and Means Committee. It's formatted simply off the congressional format, where any legislation that comes out of a committee, unless it's appropriations or judiciary, has to then be approved by this new House and Ways Committee. It could slow the process down a little bit. The idea is that they wanted the House to be more deliberative in the issues and to make sure that the issues that come before the House floor are really put together in a format that they are ready for the full House debate. I think there was some frustration last session that bills came before the House session and they were not prepared, amendments were not prepared on the House floor, and they were a little frustrated by that process. So it could be a little cumbersome now that unless a bill coming through judiciary appropriation has to go through a 2-step process, but their hope is that it will make it more smooth when it comes to the full House floor activity. As far as our Kent County delegation, their committee assignments actually were very helpful to the county. If you look at Representative Kathleen Eulis, who's a member, she is one of the few freshmen who will chair a committee, tax policy. She's also going to serve as a member of this new committee in the House that will deal with auto no fault reform. Speaker Chatfield actually created a special committee, and their sole purpose is to look at auto no fault reform this session. Senator Pete McGregor in the Senate is the Senate Majority Floor Leader. In addition to that, he will continue to serve as the chair of the House Health and Human Services Subcommittee, which is very important to the county as we look at some of our health care issues. Senator Winnie Brinks is the Democratic Vice Chair of Health Policy. She will also serve on the Insurance Committee, which is very critical to some of the issues that the county faces. Representative David LeGrand will be the Democratic member on Judiciary. Rivera is a freshman legislator, got some very good House Committee appropriations, chairing the General Government Committee, as well as sitting on Health and Human Services and Higher Education. And Representative Braun will be on the Veterans and Military Affairs. So I think we're well positioned to have our delegates in some prime committee assignments when committees begin to meet. This week they're going to start committees. It'll be just organizational. I doubt many of them will have enough bills to take up, but they'll begin to organize and get themselves settled. They typically wait until after the governor's state of the state to really begin the committee process. The governor has indicated that she's likely to present her budget in early March. With any new governor, the timeframes of which they deliver the state of the state as well as the budget are extended to give them a little bit more opportunity. So we believe that she'll deliver that somewhere around the first week of March with her budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any commissioners have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Milton.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one, and would it be possible, unless Pam got all this down, I could look all that up, but you said it so quickly. Who's in charge of what, or head of what committee? Would that?
Actually, I passed out before you all
You
the
did?
committee assignments.
One that I can almost see?
Yes, I apologize. They did,
That's okay.
the print is small, but I wanted to make sure that you had all the complete list of the committee
Thank
assignments
you.
in front of you.
I should have
I
known.
know I do
Becky.
talk fast, so I
It
apologize.
is fun to see you again. I missed you last year. Thank you.
Commissioner Tellen.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Becky. You mentioned that insurance issues are important to the county. Could you expand on that a little bit? I'm perhaps not familiar with how that affects Kent County, or maybe you were referring to the citizens of Kent County.
The citizens of Kent County. I think one thing that we did learn in this last election is that I think when individuals were talking, candidates were talking to individuals at the door, they were hearing quite frequently that auto insurance rates throughout the state of Michigan, we do have the highest auto insurance rates in the country, and I think the citizens are frustrated with those high rates. And so I think from the county perspective, as far as our citizens, auto insurance rates have always been an issue that has been prominent in the legislature.
If I could just
Yes.
respond, Chair. That seems a little curious to me. I heard in my knocking on doors this campaign season, heard nothing, no comments at all in my district about auto insurance rates. I heard a lot about affordable housing and those kinds of things. So I guess I'm a little disappointed that insurance reform is such a high priority when we have so many people experiencing difficulty finding housing they can afford. And so just an observation. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
The Citizens Research Council has just issued a little bit of some optimism, but also some caution about general fund revenues and school revenues, but going forward. How are you seeing that, and how are you seeing what its possible impact will be? They're seeing a real slowing of the growth and commitments that have been made that will, eat up what might be growth in those accounts. And they always say recessions are so unpredictable. So what's your crystal ball saying?
Yes, so last week, I believe, is when the Senate, the Revenue Estimating Conference was held, and it did show that while our state budget will grow, the rate of growth is reducing, and that will continue to reduce as we, our economy shifts, and I don't know if they called it a recession, but it's recalculating itself into a more stable ground, so I think over the years we'll see less growth in our state budget. I know that the state budget director has indicated that he's treating this budget as a flat budget, that there might not necessarily be a lot of growth in this budget, that we're treating it more of a flat rate as far as any type of spending that's going to be required. I can get you those numbers from the Revenue Estimating Conference. You can take a look at it. It does project a couple years out. I think it gives us a good sense that the tremendous budget cycles that we've had in the past may not continue into the future, that we might have to have more restraint as we move forward.
It's interesting because, it says that income tax, of course, is one of the major sources of revenue. And then, I didn't like the retiree pension tax, but changing that, of course, will further, impact that income tax.
Absolutely. I believe it's about $300 or $400 million that if they decide that they want to repeal that, they will have to find funds in
to really taking out your crystal ball, is it going to impact us with our revenue sharing monies?
Well, certainly I think everything's on the table when they start reducing the amount of revenue. I believe Governor Whitmer in a recent interview with the Detroit Free Press last Friday morning talked about trying to enable local units of government to secure revenues on more of a local level, as she felt this last administration had perhaps stymied. She didn't go into detail about how she wanted to do that, but at least she's thinking about more revenue to local units of government and how that might be accomplished.
Anyone else? If not, thank you, Becky. We look forward to working together with you in this new session.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to item number 4. Administrator's Office, Matthew Van Zetten is going to give that report.
Morning, everyone.
Welcome.
We're excited to share the performance management update this morning, and look forward to it. So, the performance management process, sometimes that we refer to it as our PMs, is a best practice in county government, and it's a key feature here in Kent County. Prior to presentations in front of LHR, PMRT members meet with department leaders to review their goals, their measurements, and how they link to the county board priorities. We also discuss significant accomplishments that those departments have, as well as potential issues that might be impacting them in the years coming. Examples could be legislative priorities that they might have or issues coming up, state policy, succession planning. This year, LHR is going to be meeting monthly, which is a change. So with that, we've determined that we'll no longer have the 5-minute updates that we've been having previously in the past few years. And we'll have larger budget units and departments present annually during these 12 meetings. We'll roll in other departments and units, smaller budgets as we have openings, and that's how we're going to move forward with this new schedule. Should be noted that this has changed before. Previously, we only met once every other year with departments, and then we added the 5 minutes, and now we're going to have to make another change. But I want to assure you that PMRT members will be meeting with each department every year to go through their performance management reports and their significant accomplishments and things like that. So in 2019, PMRT will also begin working with departments on aligning the measures, their performance measures, with the board's updated strategic plan. So currently, when there's an LHR presentation, we introduce the presentation explaining that the process is to ensure alignment with board priorities. So here on the slide, I've shown you kind of that presentation overview that we always show you, the alignment with the board priorities, something that's important in the process. And then we lay out those statements that the departments identify with their priorities to and how they align with their mission statement. So as you can see, these are your current board priorities that we've identified. And then a mission statement is to be aligned with those priorities. In this case, this is the administrator's report, or administrator's mission statement. Then next is we actually show the key performance metrics. That's the next step in the process, is mission, key performance metrics. And here again, back to our presentation overview, it's aligned like that. And then in the case of the administrator's report, maintain the long-term financial health of the county is the goal, making sure that we adhere to the recommendations of the Finance Committee, and then what is the metric that we're aligning to. Again, this goes back to the board priorities of stable budget revenue. So it's always important to go back to how are we linking these things with the board's priorities and how they then get inputted into the system and followed through. And then last, we utilize the significant accomplishments in the PM process. So PMRT members review the significant accomplishments during this structured process. We score, and then we use them in our Excellence in Action program. Actually, every year at the end of the year, PMRT members get a list of all these significant accomplishments, and we rank them or structure them in terms of our excellence in action accomplishments, DEI, collaboration, impact, innovation, and then we vote on them. And then that tailored list gets sent out to outside reviewers to verify our significant accomplishments for the year that come into the Excellence in Action for presentation that we do in May during Local Government Week, Recognition Week. So this year, as the board does its updated strategic plan, one of the things that PMRT members are going to have to work with each department on is updating their whole PM structure to ensure that it aligns with your new updated priorities. Goals are aligned, metrics are aligned, and one of our jobs will be to work with committee members or departments on that. One last thing I would like to just bring to your attention is during these structured review processes, we encourage staff, not just leaders, to come to those discussions. So when we talk about significant accomplishments, we can see it and view it from different angles depending on who's at the meeting. So from frontline staff to mid-management to senior level people. Makes for a richer discussion. And so that's our update for the year. Next month we'll start our PMRT schedule. The administrator's office will kick that off, and then I think in the memo in your packet shows which departments will be presenting in 2019, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Tellon.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, Matthew. This is I greatly appreciate the way this continues to evolve over the years, and one of the things I was thinking about as we were going through it was identifying how departments are collaborating, working together with other departments, and I see that's in here as one of the priorities for reporting. The other thing that struck me, and I kind of wanted to check in about, was I saw that slide about priority alignment, and I think it was an example mission statement there that you had that talked about to provide policy recommendations. And I think that was just an example.
Correct.
But I really wondered whether you've thought about asking staff as part of their update to actually provide those recommendations to the commissioners, to staff. What are the kinds of policy things that we ought to be thinking about to help the departments to do their work better? I don't know that we get that feedback, but that struck me as something that would be cool to do.
Okay.
Helpful.
We'll take that into account, and we can talk about that as a possibility.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
I'm just seeing this now, but are we looking also at those areas where we have a little bit of committee oversight, let's say front of the court is one example, looking at how our committees, if they are effective, if they're working well with the aims, whether it be front of the court or the agricultural preservation or whatever, do we look at how those committees, how effective they are?
I think we often hear from department leadership about their working with the committees.
That's one of the things on our list for this year, though, just so you know.
Okay.
We talked about that and the importance of each committee functioning at a high level. So we've talked about how might we support them in a more formal way. So we've actually, that's on our list for this year.
It strikes me that's the way in which we have eyes on the ground, so to speak, other
Yes.
than just listening to what the administrators themselves say about the program. So
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
So we got to figure out how to do that in a very effectful, respectful sort of way, so that we give them support, but at the same time give them latitude to exercise their role as well. That's the tricky part of it.
It is tricky, but it is another set of eyes that we have on what's going on day to day with
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Any others? So Matthew, following up on Commissioner Hennessy's question, I have a similar inquiry about what we do with the authorities where we've spun off certain responsibilities, and I assume that they're not handled in the same way, but do we have a mechanism in which we also monitor them or measure their performance against objectives?
I would say, can I answer that?
Yes, you may.
Some of it has, of course, the familiarity with the special order of business when we ask each authority, for instance, to give us an update once a year. But I think, getting back to Commissioner Hennessey's point, we could do a little bit more intervention there. And instead of just the annual update that they provide us, we ought to be about meeting with them at least once a year and talking through how might we support them, what are the issues and so forth, so that we have our eyes on the ball. But we're gonna do that this year, make that one of our additional things that we'll provide for them.
Good. Good. Anyone else? Not, thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the item number 5, Board of Commissioners appointments. Wayman, I'll refer it to you.
Sure.
Present.
This is a request to the Board of Commissioners to appoint Stan Ponstein to the County Commissioner position and Stephen Moss to the city elected official position of the Land Bank Authority. 2 appointments on the Land Bank Authority were left unfilled following the annual appointment process, 1 county commissioner and 1 city elected official position. An interview team consisting of Commissioners Bolter, Coleman, and Womack was assigned in November 18 to review applications of the land bank vacancies. It is recommended that that Stan Ponstein be reappointed to the county commissioner position and Steve Moss be reappointed to the city elected official position on the Land Bank Authority.
Motion to approve the resolution? Support. Any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Tallon.
Thank you, Chair. Just wonder if in this context, Wayman might be willing to just give a little update on what's happening. I know there was a request that these folks be reappointed to help, because of their experience, to help with the wind down. But
right.
Could you give us a little update on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have met a couple of times now since the meeting that dissolved the land bank with the city of Grand Rapids, and we're continuing that process of supporting them and what they need from us. We met last week with Mark Washington and his staff and provided them lots of good information from our equalization mapping department to help them narrow in on what the important pieces they need to be able to look at. And I understand that they're meeting with their city commission, may have met already last week, or maybe they're meeting this week. We are also meeting with the Community Foundation, I believe today or tomorrow, to talk through some of the concerns that they had. And we have a list of individuals that actually had concerns about the dissolution, and we're following up with them with communication to make sure that they know what we're doing, how we're keeping on track with the process. The other thing we're doing is following up with the treasurer and the land bank, and Linda Howell from our office is the key link to that process, making sure that Ken has all that he needs and support as we go through the process of winding down December 31. So we're in the middle of all of that. We're supportive of the land bank. We're supportive of the city of Grand Rapids and any municipality that have houses that are in the bucket that we have to deal with. So my feeling is that we will get through the process okay. I understand that the state land bank has been reached out to by the land bank, and they're going to offer support for quick title, the quick title process. So we're feeling pretty good that it's moving. We have not sat down with Ken yet to just really lock in on what he might need from us, but that's coming.
If I could just
Yes.
follow up on the quiet title piece. Is it your understanding that the State Land Bank is kicking in on that now, or are you talking about after the wind down?
I'm assuming that that's going to happen. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that they're going to get involved before the wind down. I don't know. We're going to confirm that.
That's been my biggest concern, is
Yeah.
what's going to happen with that, because that was one of the important tools that, that some of our nonprofit developers have been using.
Yeah. So we'll know more when we
Appreciate if we
have
could
that
be
conversation.
updated when we know what's going to happen with that.
Sure.
Thank you.
We can do that.
Can you just address quickly the authority of the existing land bank to do that in the meantime?
Sure, until the land bank completely winds up its operations, it can still handle the quick title. So it's got the entire year basically to handle whatever is coming in or whatever it currently has. And under the way that process works, it's generally about a 60-day time frame after they file to the time the court has to get it on its calendar. So if they've got properties that haven't gone through that process yet, there's still time to get them through the process with the Kent County Land Bank before they would need to involve either the Michigan Land Bank or a different entity.
If I could, just one more follow-up.
You get one more.
Thank you. Has this been communicated to the developers that this quiet title will still be available for a certain amount of time? Do we have any sense of that?
I have not communicated with developers. I don't know if the land bank itself has, because right now, it's under the land bank's obligation to manage those properties and its own wind down. So clearing those titles, moving those properties out, I would assume, and it's just an assumption, I would assume would be part of that wind down process that's within the authority of the current land bank.
And I would think it'd be their responsibility to keep their partners advised of what's going on.
Like to assume?
Yes.
Maybe don't like to assume.
Doesn't hurt to ask, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah. All right, yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
Following up, I'm really pleased to hear your opinion that these, can continue with the quiet titles probably through this year, because it's something that can be accomplished and called complete before the end of the year. But we may want to work with the state land bank a little bit, because my understanding is that they don't go through any quiet title actions till they've got 300 lined up. And that really, time is money, and waiting for them, I don't know how often they'll have 300 requests for quiet titles lined up, but that's among the considerations we may want to look at as this transfer continues through this year.
Okay, good point. All right, I just remind commissioners that I believe that the treasurer, who chairs the land bank at the meeting, did request that we reappoint these two candidates, and both of them have affirmed their willingness to continue to serve in this capacity even under these circumstances. Any other comments? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Move to item number 6. Wayman?
Yes, this is request to the board to add one full-time advanced practice provider position and one full-time medical social worker position, and to accept and appropriate $238,000 to the 2018-19 Health Fund budget. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has made $180,000 in additional funding available through the Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting, and Contracting Agreement to provide HIV prevention strategies through a pre-exposure prophylaxis program, and to provide hepatitis C case investigation, testing, linkage to care, and follow-up. To support the work required by the PREP program, the HCV program, and ongoing HIV program, the creation of a full-time AP position and full-time MSW position is being recommended. The cost of salary and benefits for the positions is $191,000. The increased grant funding will support half of the cost of the AP position and the entire cost of the MSW position. The amount of salary and benefits costs for these positions, which will be funded by this grant, is $133,000. The remaining $58,000 of salary and benefit cost for the AP position will be funded through increased insurance billings for services. If funding is eliminated or decreased, the position will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal services fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
Move to approve. Is it, and seconded. Is there a discussion? Questions from any commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
So this will not require general fund monies. It's going to be reimbursement of insurance billings. That's interesting. I don't recall seeing that before. For a portion of it, right?
Yeah.
Adam,
Adam London, can you just step up and maybe respond to that?
Yeah.
Good morning. Yes, the remainder is through insurance billing in Medicaid also. So we do and have for some time billed insurance for those who have it.
So it'll be private insurance or HMOs as well as Medicaid.
Accompanied with our referral, trying to get them into a provider who can care for their long-term case management needs.
Yes, Commissioner Milne.
Thank you, Chair. So, Adam, are we, well, I know we are, but just to clarify, because you have selected, or they have been selected for two pretty specific areas, those are areas that we're seeing an increase in incidences or problems in our county or in particular areas or statewide? I mean, I think I kind of know the answer. I've been following this, but it'd be nice to hear from you as to why these two areas, I guess, have been earmarked.
And unfortunately, Commissioner, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
To both HIV. We have seen the annual rate of diagnoses for HIV and for AIDS itself increase the past couple of years. And hepatitis C has been with us for a long time, but there is a growing awareness how much of it is present in the community, especially with the baby boom generation. And also now with the millennial and Generation Y, we're seeing an increase in the 20-somethings and the rate of hep C there also. It is a terrible illness, but it's one that through proper identification and case management can greatly reduce the long-term consequences.
So these two, their main area will be at the health department, or will they be going out into the county and to some of the different county clinics that we have, or do you know that?
Yeah, so the answer is a lot of both.
Okay.
Primarily, they will be located at our main location on Fuller.
Okay.
However, we will look for opportunities like we always do to get our best qualified people in front of the crowds they need to be in front of. And we hope that as this program unrolls, that we're going to see other opportunities and maybe other opportunities in the community for us to find partnerships with other organizations who can help leverage our resources and also to make an impact on these two important illnesses.
And then, as usual, I always think about our schools or our universities, and let's face it, HIV is not something that anyone really even wants to hear, let alone talk about. But maybe outreach programs into our different high schools, our colleges, I'm sure, I should say that. It seems to me that they should be readily accepting of anyone wanting to come in and do some education programs. Is that something that's even been thought about, or is that just
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do partner a great deal with all of our local universities.
No, I know you do.
And trying to do that. And of course, the challenges have changed somewhat. I'm thinking in particular of HIV and different values towards behaviors and apps, and how those things have made certain behaviors more accessible. So working within that universe of changing variables, we're doing everything we can to try to get information in front of people.
As usual, thank you for all you do.
Any other commissioner? Adam, I do have a follow-up question on the services that these individuals will be providing, at least to some extent, are reimbursable services, billable services that can be billed, as you said, to Medicaid or private insurance. Is it conceivable, are you projecting that they could generate even more than the $58,000 in the course of this process?
Yes, Commissioner, it is. Our estimate of the $58,000 is fairly conservative. We think that just based on the current array of things that we're not billing for, that we'll be able to reach that number. We also currently do quite a bit of case management counseling now that we can't bill for because we don't have this advanced practice provider in the office. With that presence there, we can now bill for some other things that we can't currently.
And do those excess funds then go into the general account, or are they general fund, or are they dedicated funds?
They would go into the general fund. And certainly as we track those, then we'll be reporting on those and figuring out how to manage those. But we wanted to base this budget conservatively so that we're making sure to cover the cost of the additions without taking too much of a leap of faith in how much might be produced.
Okay. So we'll know a lot more after the first year of operation. Yep, good. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
Your question raises the one, if insurance doesn't cover what what we bill, will the client then become responsible for it? Or what happens if someone comes in and doesn't have insurance at all?
I'm going to invite April is the supervisor of our personal health services program and is more familiar with some of the billing practices.
Welcome. We're drilling down. I got one more body back there so we can keep going.
Hi. Currently, we also get funding from the state through vouchers to do testing. And as part of this grant, they're also offering ways for us to provide PrEP to people who don't have insurance. And so people who need it the most and don't have any way of getting it will have a way to access it, which is also a great benefit for the community because right now it's not available anywhere without insurance. And the ways to get it require some case management because there's programs that you have to apply for that the regular person would have a hard time accessing. And so the services will be available if you don't have insurance.
Without an additional charge to the individual?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, let's move to item number 7.
Yes, this is request to add one full-time shipping and receiving clerk, one at Kent County Community Action. Community Action is requesting the addition of this one full-time shipping receiving clerk to support the Emergency Food Assistance Program. This program distributes USDA food to eligible households in Kent County on a quarterly basis. And in November 2018, the Kent County Community Action received a $56,000 increase in funding for its 2018-19 grant. Based on the current amount of food being received, there's difficulty to meet vendors at the warehouse to process and deliver food in a timely manner. The cost of the new position for additional is $56,200 for additional wages and benefits. Increased grant funds will cover the cost of the position. If grant funding is eliminated or decreased, the position will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved by through the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support? Support. All right, thank you. Any commissioner comments or questions? Commissioner Tallon.
Thank you, Chair. This was a little bit confusing to me. I apologize to quite understand. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Susan. Thank you.
Where it came from, it sounds like that there has been an ongoing need because with the amount of food that we receive, we've had difficulty handling and processing it all. And so when some more funding became available, we didn't apply for an increase. Is that correct?
That's true. Currently, we have about 11,000 units that we have to get out on a quarterly basis. In order to do that, we have distributions on a monthly basis around the county. So like last week, we had one at our offices, and then next month it's going to be at Eastern Avenue Church. So there's one in every county of the, in every corner of the county. We had been stagnant with our funding until last year. We had received about $232,000 for a couple of years, and then last year they funded us $287,000, and this year they did the same. So the $56,000 that's additional in the Emergency Food Assistance Program, we really felt like we needed to have an assistant at the warehouse because we're on a daily basis receiving shipments, packing for not only our quarterly distributions, but our monthly distributions. And Our warehouse coordinator right now is telling us that he's got 1, maybe 2 years, so we really have to do some succession planning because there's a lot of caveats to the food storage and how you pack the foods, those types of things. So this position will also help us with succession planning.
Yes, Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. The TFAP program, or the funding, is that just for, like, so you get the food separately, right? The commodities, and this is for staffing, warehousing, that kind of thing? Is that what those dollars are for?
Operational grant.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
The money for the food is put in a bank at the state, and then we like go grocery shopping, and we say, we want this, this, and this.
Okay.
And they just take it off of our balance, but we never see green money.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? If not, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, miscellaneous. Do any commissioners have any miscellaneous? If not, I have one item, or maybe two. The first is that we are going to be appointing another interview subcommittee for purposes of addressing a few of the open spots on some of our boards and commissions that still need to be filled. And so I've asked Commissioner Bonk, Commissioner Coleman, and Commissioner Skaggs to serve in that role. And
none of whom are here.
You know, there's a price to pay around here. No, that was
Maybe
not
that's
the
why
case
they're
when
not
I made
here.
the request. So there's no connection, believe me. But maybe there should be. At any rate, to follow up on the few spots and conduct those interviews, and so we hope we'll have recommendations back at our next meeting in February for purposes of filling the last of these spots. The one exception may be Network 180, which is going to continue to take some more attention before we finalize that. And then just a heads up that some of you will recall that our chair had asked us to take a harder look at how we staff our various committees and boards, and we're going to be doing that. We'll take a look at how we want to do that, whether we have a work session or what, I don't know yet, but we'll be taking that up as a board and a committee over the course of this next year. With that, we stand adjourned.
I am Kent County. I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Beya, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos, Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. We are Kent County. Oh yeah.